mean, seriously, how can you not be obsessed with the smell of some of these lip products? So good. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm bringing you, I guess, what would be the last episode in the Lips versus Eyes challenge that I'm doing with Brandy, Shay and Samantha. So just a quick explanation of what we've been doing. We have been using the September Lippie challenge, which was created by Samantha, and the Pan Those Miraculous palettes that was created by Brandy, and kind of mushing them together to create a Lips versus Eyes challenge. Now, the Lippie challenge is coming to an end. I've got 2 more lipsticks to do, and then that is it. That is the end of September, and this year is just flying by, way too quick to count. But the Pan Those Miraculous palettes, that goes all the way until December. So what I'm going to be doing, and I know that a few of the other ladies involved will also be doing, is I am going to continue this challenge, continue this project, continue with these videos. But instead of doing them weekly, I'm going to be doing them once a month. So once a month, I will be bringing you a update of what's going on. We'll be talking about the 4 palettes that I've used for the month before, because it is a weekly palette challenge, and then the 4 palettes that we're going to be using going forward. Now, there will be some repeats here, because it is more about making the palette fit the prompt. So whatever the prompt is for that week, I've got to pick the palette that matches it, whether it's the same palette I used the week before or whether it's a brand new palette. So there will be times when the palette, and by there will be times, I mean this time, there will be a palette that is used for multiple weeks because it fits multiple prompts. So am I going to continue calling it Lips versus Eyes? I think I am. What I'm going to do going forward is I think I will incorporate a get ready with me, and I will at the end of my video put in a creation of the favorite look that I'd used throughout that month. And I might go through some of my favorite lipsticks. So there is still the Lips versus Eyes aspect. Let's move forward though, because I have been rambling on there, and I'm going to give you a quick recap of last week's palette and the lipsticks I used. And as always, I will be putting up some photos of the looks I created each day. So the week 4 theme for the palette was your most unused or your most recent palette. And I went with the Essence G'day Sydney palette. And this is what it looks like. And as you can see, I've actually got a bit of a dip going into a few of these shades. It was definitely a lot of fun to work with, though I will say they are very powdery shades, especially these ones along here. So I would do my eyes, and almost every time I would have glitter fallout all along here, no matter what I did, whether I sprayed them, whether I used the sticky base, whether I even used my finger, I would always have glitter along my face. But other than that, which for me is not too much of an issue, I really did enjoy this palette. I would have to say that this color here, this deep blue, is probably my favorite shade, though I think this brown here would be my most used shade, because I did use this shade every day. But overall, I did enjoy this palette. The one thing I would possibly comment on is these 2 shades are very similar. There are a slight difference to them, but overall, once they're on your eyes, it is not that easy to tell the difference. And you wouldn't use both of them at once. You would use one and then you would use the other. So personally, I think it might have been better if there was another mid-tone shade, or even I would have liked another shimmer, maybe a darker shimmer, rather than both of these shades. Moving straight along into the lips I used last week. Day 22 was your most recent lipstick, and I went with the Australis Velour Lips Matte Lip Cream in Radelaide, and this one is lovely. Just a quick reminder, these smell divine. I did enjoy this shade. It didn't overly match the G'day Sydney palette, as this is very cool tone, and the look that I created using that, and majority of the look, though there are cool tone colours, they still come across quite warm. So that didn't overly match, but I do like this colour and I do like this formula. It stayed quite nicely on the lips. It didn't feel too sticky or drying down or any of those things. It was definitely what I would consider a lip cream. So I do like this formula. Day 2 was a drugstore lip, and I went with the Revlon HD Gel Lip Colour in Arabica, and this was a lot shinier than I thought it would be. It stayed on quite nicely, but it had a real sheen to it. It was quite a shiny lip product, though I did like the feel of it. I like the applicator, and I would totally wear this again. Next up is my two-toned lip, and I use the two NYX Liquid Suedes. This one's in Foiled Again, and this blue one is in Jet Set. Foiled Again is in my Project 10 Uses Lip Edition, which I'll have linked wherever the linkage goes. And I use these two together, and I was really surprised with how this lip colour came out. So I obviously put Jet Set down first, and then I put Foiled Again over the top. And in my mind, originally, I was picturing a blue lip with a orange inner section. But instead, the orange actually kind of meshed a lot and mixed colour with the blue, yes, with Jet Set, and made this really strange kind of purpley, orangey colour instead. I did still really liked this look, and I actually liked how that whole entire look turned out. Day 25 is a lip that inspires you, and I went with another Australis Velour Lips Matte Lip Cream, and this one is in Emerald City. And I don't think I could ever just not stop and smell these guys because they're amazing. This one was fabulous. I loved it. I love the colour. I love the look I created with it. It was amazing, and I have no other words for it. It was just one of what I would say a perfect green lip. And then we jumped into a vampy lip. And for that, I used the L'Oreal Lip Paint. This one is in Dark River. And I am not sure how I feel about this formula. I have a couple of these in my collection. And I bought them from recommendation from Emily Noel. And I just don't know. Like, this is the lip paint lacquer rather than the lip paint matte. But I felt like it just wouldn't stay within my lip line, and I thought it looked a bit streaky, and I just didn't love it. I didn't love the effect that it made, which makes me wonder whether I should actually declutter this. However, I got some compliments about this lip look, which I was a little surprised about, but I did. I got some compliments, which then makes me second guess whether decluttering this is the right idea. So I'm not really sure. I'm on the fence about what I want to do with this, and I think I need to wear it a few more times before I can make that decision. But then we have probably one of my new favorite lip formulas, and that is for day 27, which is a glossy lip. And I use the NYX Butter Gloss in Glazy Days, which I actually have on today over the top of my NYX Liquid Lingerie in Slip, which is part of my Beauty A to Z project, linked up above somewhere. So I enjoyed this product quite a lot. I loved it. And also, have you smelt these? Oh, like, I can see the concept of butter gloss because they have this sweet, buttery scent, like glaze almost. Like, it is so hard to explain, but this smells divine, and I love it. I love how it looked. I loved how I wore it. I wore it first off without, just by itself, which I'll put a photo up over here. And then, like today, I've worn it underneath a couple other different lip products. I might put another picture, if I have one, of another look up over here. But I definitely enjoyed this product, and over the week, I ended up wearing this an additional 3 times, I think, over the top of other lip products, because sometimes I'll do an event or do something, go to work, then I will wipe all my makeup off, redo it for something else. Or when my lipstick wore away, I would replace it with something else and use the butter gloss. So I did manage to wear this a lot more than just the once this week. And last but not least, for week 4 was my forgotten favourite, which I went with Kitten Heels, which is another NYX liquid suede, and I loved it. I felt like the look I wore it with was just perfection. It, to me, just felt power. It is definitely a power lip. Red lip is just, when you're having a bad day, just chuck on a red lip. Like, it just makes everything better. So I loved it. It was a fantastic shade, and it would just worked amazing. It definitely is what I would say is a forgotten favorite. So that is the last week of full lipsticks discussed, and now we are working on to the following weeks. So what I'll do is I'll go week by week and discuss what palette I'm going to be using, and while I do that, for week 5 I will also talk about the 2 lip products that go for day 29 and day 30 of September. And you know, we will just continue on that path. Now, because we are dealing with 4 palettes going forward, I won't be swatching out every one, but what I'll do is I'll swatch them out on my arms afterwards, and I'll take a photo and I'll insert that over the top. Now, I'm interested to hear, do you want me going forward? I've been thinking I will do a little mini tutorial at the end of the video with my favorite look of the week. That won't be this week. That will start as of next update, next episode. But do you want me to talk about the last palettes? Do you want me to go through what I expected from them and what I got from them, maybe show a few of my pictures of looks I've created, and then discuss the new palettes? Or do you want me just to discuss the new palettes and just ignore what has happened in the past? I'm a little on the fence. Personally, I kind of want to discuss the palettes from the past, because I feel like that is the concept of this. I use a palette for a week, and then I can give you not the most in-depth thoughts, but I can give you a bit of how I feel about that palette going forward. But, you know, let me know what you're wanting to see from these episodes going forward. Anyway, let's get started with talking about the next 4 weeks. For first off, we have week 5. And for week 5, we are talking about my most expensive palette. And that has got to be, hands down, my Kat Von D Metal Matte palette. So I've had this in my collection for quite a while, but this is still the most high-end palette I have, and my most expensive palette. What I'll do is I'll chuck up a video now with swatches of all these shades. I would love to hear, if you have this palette or you've used this palette in the past, what is your favourite shade, and which one would you definitely like me to use in a video. And if you're interested in seeing something like a get ready with me or a palette bingo using this palette, definitely let me know, because I'd be quite happy to do a video like that. And I'll just chuck in my 2 week 5 lipsticks here, shall I? So day 29 is your go-to lip product. And I was a little unsure what I wanted to do with that, because really I could say, well, my go-to lip product could be the NYX Liquid Lingerie in Slip, because I have worn that because I'm trying to pan it and I have worn it a lot this year. But I figured that really my go-to lip is something I use that is not because I have to, but because I choose to, and something that I use more than anything else. So for that, I had a bit of a think, and I thought, you know what I use every day without fail, even if I'm not wearing makeup? You guessed it, a lip balm. So this is my current lip balm that I'm using. It is an OXX Peppermint Lip Treatment. It is just a clear lip balm. Let me give you a swatch, though really, there's not really anything to see. It's just a shiny, clear lip balm. But I figured it is my go-to lip. It's what I wear before I go to bed. It's what I put on when I get up in the morning. It's what I wear if I'm sitting at my desk or anywhere and I see a lip balm sitting there and I don't have any lipstick on, I'll just chuck on a bit of lip balm. So this would have to be what I would consider my go-to lip. And last but not least, day 30, an item you are considering decluttering. And I wouldn't be surprised if this item wasn't the one that I picked for last year. And it is the Mickey Big Lip in Diva. And as you might be able to see, this is looking a lot worse than wear. So the actual lipstick itself broke out of the packet and stuck to the top of the lid, and I had to actually pick it off of the top to get it out and be able to use it for this. Now, they smell like crowns. I mean, it's a big lippy, it looks like a crown, and it smells like a crown. I know that these are designed for children more than adults. They're a bit more like play makeup, and I would say it's definitely play makeup. This is the shade here. It is baby pink. It is definitely pink. And I really think, considering its state, considering I don't love it, considering it smells like a crown, I'm probably going to wear it this one time and then declutter it. And in saying that, if I did use this last year in a product I'm considering decluttering, I haven't worn it since then. So it really needs to be decluttered. So I figure I'm going to stick week 6 and week 7 together in discussing what palette I'm using, because it's going to be the same palette. So the week 6 prompt is a palette that you have an emotional connection with. And I have emotional connection to the palette I've chosen for this because my husband got it for me. It was one of the first makeup items he bought for me, and he worked really hard to get it for me. So that is why I have an emotional connection to it. And my week 7 prompt is a palette that reminds you of a special memory. And I have chosen the same palette because it is the palette I use because of its emotional connection to every fancy event. Anything that is special, I will generally pull out this palette. It is my go-to big night, something's happening palette. If I'm going to a wedding, I'll wear this palette. If I'm going to a birthday party, I'll wear this palette. If I'm going to something that is slightly important, I'll wear this palette. So really, every special memory I've had in the last couple years since owning this palette most likely is connected to this palette. And what is that palette? Yes, for 3 weeks, I'm going to be using my Kat Von D Metal Matte palette. This is my emotional connection, this is my special memory, and this is my most expensive palette. So this is what I'm going to be using for the next 3 weeks. But then we get to change it up again for week 8. And what is week 8? Week 8 is your least expensive palette. So I have a few palettes, and most of my palettes are drugstore palettes. Apart from the Kat Von D palette, they are all drugstore palettes. So really, a lot of them are quite cheap. So I was tossing up between a few of them, thinking about what was my least expensive palette. When I moved a palette out of the way, and I thought, hey, that palette is my most expensive palette because it was a gift with purchase. I didn't actually pay for this palette. It came with a heap of Revolution palettes that I bought as a free gift. And what is that palette? It is my Revolution 144 Ultimate Eyeshadow Palette Collection 2018. So this is definitely my least expensive palette because I didn't actually pay for it. So that is the palette that I'm going to be using for week 8. Now, I'm not going to give you swatches of 144 shades. So if you're interested in seeing swatches of any of these shadows, definitely let me know. I will say that most of this is neutral. Most of this has got a kind of green tinge or a black base to them. So it's a nice palette. I don't mind the formula that much, but it's not the best palette in the whole entire world. Also, if you'd be interested in seeing a palette bingo using this palette, please let me know because I would be quite happy to do that for you as well. So that's all I've really got for you today. Now, if there is anything at all that you would like to see added or removed from these episodes going forward, please let me know in the description box down below. And don't forget to check out Samantha, Brandy and Shay. They're also going to be continuing on with the Pan Those Miraculous Palettes challenge. So definitely make sure that you check them out. Anyway, that is it for now. So I'm Verity. That was the 5th episode in my Lips versus Eyes challenge with Brandy, Samantha and Shay. And now to the outro.